Stuart Alderoty is at the Financial Markets Quality Conference 2025, and he is dropping bombs on route XRP RLUSD. He's also on the same panel as BlackRock, which seems pretty interesting. I'm going to play a few of these clips here that are brand new. We're also going to take a look at some new information floating around the X space about XRP, but let's go ahead and start here. This is Stuart Alderoty, the trust factor.
I mean, Ripple, obviously, in the stablecoin space. Tell us what your thoughts are on stablecoin. And
yeah, so Ripple launched a stablecoin this year, RLUSD. We did it through a state-chartered trust company in New York. We think we'd also be compliant with the Genius Act. We also have a national bank trust charter pending with the OCC. So I agree, stablecoin issuers' core principles of transparency, auditability, and reserves. And the Genius Act creates those prongs. I think what we need, so again, very principled base. I think ultimately trust wins and confidence wins in the marketplace. Where we don't need to go, and I didn't hear you say this, is you only have to be a bank to issue a stablecoin. You can't be a trust company. You can't be a state-chartered trust company, or you can't have a state license otherwise. Again, principle base. If you have those core principles of reserves, transparency, auditability, redeemability, it's licensed, it's supervised. Stablecoins is satisfying, I think, a customer need. I think, again, we talked about this a little bit in the green room. Why did traditional finance or even decentralized finance create these products? We don't create them as a thought exercise. We create them because there is a customer need, and guess what? We can make a little money doing it. Right?
Okay, let's circle back here. Trust is very important when you're talking about institutional level commitment to blockchain infrastructure, whether it's a correct bridge asset like XRP or if it's a stable coin that serves the interest, right? Banks need to be able to trust, make sure that whoever they're working with for this infrastructure, right, is trustworthy. And that's what Ripple plays the role here. But when you have connections to BlackRock and VanEck and BNY Mellon, all right, there is no financial institutions at a higher level than those people. And so when you're working with that level of customers, you really can work with anybody. It's really Ripple's decision who they say yes or no to. And the stablecoin RLUSD was born out of the necessity that Ripple's clients were asking, what solutions do you have? And Ripple's like, well, we're using USDC and we're using USDT. Yes, there was a time period that Ripple was using Tether, which you're kind of like, right? And so you start to imagine that Ripple understood a long time ago they needed to have their own brand or own value for stablecoins, as well as deliver that technology to financial institutions as banks that want to use that at scale, create their own type of stablecoins on the XRP ledger and have that interoperable with any other asset or value on the XRP ledger. So Chad Steingraber posted this: Coinbase and Binance bouncing back after the drop of XRP at $2.72. People are wondering, like, what's going on? It was the sky falling. I get it, right? There's a lot of economic data right now that's not really very good here in the United States. We're trying to drop rates, not because we reached that 2% inflection point for inflation, but because the economy is getting worse. And so people are looking around wondering, hey, is this the exit time? Obviously, I do believe we're still going to see a roaring October, November, and December, but come 2026, should be looking around figuring out what is going to happen with the US economy and how will all of these decisions that we made in 2025 affect us in 2026. That's something that we talk a lot about in the live streams. I hope that you are getting value from that. Just to go through this, Chad Steingraber posted this information. Recent XRP net inflows on Coinbase and Binance reflect strong buying interest, and price recovery at 272 dipped back to 280, supported by 13.9 million in net inflows on 2.08 billion in volume. This signals market confidence and moderate bullish momentum among both retail and institutional traders. Here's Brad Garlinghouse discussing XRP liquidity. I thought this was a great clip to have in here.
Two things come to mind, like big events. I'll save the bigger one for the second. But, you know, look, I think the stablecoin effort is a really important one. And I think Ripple has always taken the view that anything we can do that is good for the XRP ledger, we're going to lean into. bringing liquidity to the XRP ledger is good for everyone in the community. And anytime I read it online or just somebody saying that Ripple somehow isn't committed to the XRP ledger, I just think that they totally are missing it. Like, we're 100% committed to the XRP ledger. We always will be. And we would only do a stable coin if we thought it was good for the XRP ledger. But I think that's going to be an exciting step around the RLUSD.
All right. There's another clip here from Stuart Alderoty. Let me just play it.
We lost a lot of years around providing clarity to the crypto economy, and clarity, I mean lowercase c, not the Clarity Act. Clarity shouldn't be controversial. Clarity is a good thing. And while we were litigating basic issues in the US courts around whether crypto is a security, whether it's a commodity, the Treasury Department under the prior administration was calling crypto a clear and present danger. Right. Think about that. That's what the language you use for nuclear arsenals.
Red Dawn. Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're.
Okay, one of the reasons why the last administration wasn't comfortable with the crypto space is because they were investigating a lot of crypto, Binance, right? The Tron founder. They were investigating those people for doing some quite shady stuff in the crypto space, right? There's a lot of manipulation going on, a lot of, value that is supposed to not go to certain countries. People were, sending Tether and all these. There's just a lot of fraud, scams, and these types of things. And the current issues, remember, when the Biden administration took over, crypto really wasn't one of the things they were most worried about. This was getting out of COVID-19. Remember, he took office right as that stuff was pretty much at its worst point, and he had to turn around the economy, which they did a really good job. Now, circling back to crypto, they failed on every single level and test when it came to crypto, right? If you don't like what is happening with the scams and the people doing bad things, then you need to come in and set regulations, set the rules of the road, and so people understand what they can do or what they can't do. And I think until you actually have that, we really are going to be in this flux state, but I do think it is coming and it's very important. Galeon is pioneering a platform that harnesses the power of blockchain, artificial intelligence to revolutionize the way we manage medical data, share it, and how we utilize it. By creating a decentralized privacy-first electronic health record system, also known as EHR, Galeon connects hospitals, caregivers, patients, and researchers into a collaborative network that drives innovation and improves patient care. Through its unique blockchain swarm learning technology, Galeon enables hospitals to train AI models on local anonymized data sets, ensuring patient confidentiality while delivering advanced diagnostics and personalized treatments. The platform's Galeon's token empowers community members to participate in governance, fund research initiatives, and facilitate seamless, secure healthcare payments, all while rewarding data contributors and aligning incentives across healthcare systems. One of their biggest partners here is Samsung. They tap Galeon startup to train AI ultrasound devices. So this is a really big deal here. The Galeon today has 18 hospitals, 5 million patient records, and up to 10,000 daily users and caregivers, and some pretty big connections here. Also, you have some ex-dev from Sony, Avast here, and anesthesiologist is the Dr. Loke Brontons. You can follow Galeon on CoinMarketCap. You can follow them here on X. They have a pretty good following. And any additional information about the website, the token, everything will be down in the description. Take a look at Galeon. If you like decentralized science, if you like AI, if you like medical care, this might be a project that's speaking directly to you. Let's get back to the video. Got sidetracked there for a bit. I do apologize. Let's circle back here.
We're doing. So first thing we need to do is to play catch up. The Genius Act passed. It was the first major piece of financial regulation that passed in 15 years since Dodd-Frank. Now, Dodd-Frank was reactive to a crisis. What we need for crypto regulation, we've seen it with Genius, is something that is proactive, that enables the innovation, protects consumers, protects the integrity of the market, and does its best to keep clear actors out. The next thing we need to tackle is market structure. It's really complicated. The legislative process, and I am not an expert in it, even though I spent a lot of time in this town, takes a long time. Some will suggest that, yes, let's push hard on market structure, and I think we should. But in the interim, under the leadership of Paul Atkins and under at least the temporary leadership of the CFTC right now, there is a window where the regulators can move very quickly, whether it's rulemaking or just guidance, clear guidance. And the SEC has come out with clear guidance on meme coins, on NFTs, on, I think token, what's that?
Staking.
Staking.
Yeah.
4 pages, you can read it. I can give it to my sister or brother who are, educated but not lawyers. They can understand it. Can we just do more of that while the legislative process plays out? Yeah, could a new administration come with a stroke of the pen and throw it all away?
This is
Maybe.
what I worry about.
But if we can act quickly, we have 3 years to implement this with traditional finance.
You don't have
and
3 years.
Decentralized finance.
Okay, you don't have 3 years. I hate to break it to you, but midterms are next year in 2026. People are going to go out and vote on how they think the economy is doing. If the trade war and tariffs are still going on, I'd imagine the Republicans are probably going to lose some seats, and that way the power will shift back to the Democrat side. So if you want to get something done, you need to do it over the next maybe 6 to 12 months, because after midterms, you might not have the power to control the votes. This is why you still need to work together with the other side of the aisle. The last thing we want to do is leave regulation up in the air. The Democrats take back power in either the House or the Senate, and then they can basically throw a knife into anything the Republicans want to do here. So it's very vital and important that they take advantage of the time that we have right now, as well as you have 65 or 70 million Americans own crypto now. There's only 250 million adults in the United States, 250, 260 million, okay? When you have, 30% coming, right? 50% soon, crypto is very important to our everyday way of life. This is how we reduce the amount of money that we are spending when we send money to a friend or family member, right? How much, I'm over getting charged 3% for doing something on PayPal, right? I'm trying to transfer money to a friend and it's charged me $30 freaking dollars as a fee. That is unacceptable. I want blockchain technology and blockchain solutions not only to speed up all of this stuff, but also to protect the information, to protect my personal information. All right. I did a full video on what's going on in Japan with the Japanese consortium of banks. 60 banks are part of Ripple XRP consortium. Take a look for that video if you're interested in getting some more information. I thought this was cool. Morgan Stanley now pushing forward with crypto. Check this out.
Let me explain why this is a big deal, at least for the likes of Morgan Stanley, which is up to this point, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan, they offered exposure to Bitcoin through the ETF wrapper. So that would be through Mike Novogratz's firm Galaxy. But they have never decided to go direct and provide direct access to Bitcoin trading, Solana, Ether trading, which they will do in the coming months. And so Morgan Stanley's plan specifically is to offer it through E-Trade and to offer this access through their E-Trade clients through a little startup called Zero Hash. And another interesting aspect of that is Zero Hash, it's been around for 7 or 8 years, but now it's actually gotten institutional backing. They are now partly owned by Morgan Stanley, partly owned by SoFi and Apollo. So it seems like they've decided, they're expressing an opinion about this company being an infrastructure play that will allow banks and fintechs to connect to the crypto economy.
Banks connecting to the crypto economy, infrastructure, that is the most important thing. That's why Ripple has been investing billions of dollars in acquiring companies. That is going to be the future of the financial system. Diana, a community post here, posted this: breaking, NASDAQ just listed a new crypto index ETF, which includes XRP and XLM. The new ETF is now live on NASDAQ after meeting requirements under the new generic listing standards. Wall Street investors can now buy XRP, XLM, Solana in addition to Bitcoin and ETH. And so they're saying, could this be a biggest Trojan horse yet for Ripple and Stellar? From Bitcoin plus ETH, XRP, Solana, and XLM. Until now, US investors buying crypto ETFs had 2 boring choices: Bitcoin and Ethereum. Today, they can add so much more. Dum, dum, dum. The first crack in the Wall Street armor. For years, crypto exposure meant Bitcoin only. XRP was sidelined by lawsuits. Stellar ignored because it was too small. Now they're on Wall Street menu because Bitcoin and Ethereum, the old guard just admitted, these assets aren't going away. The regulatory backdrop, this expansion only is possible because the SEC's new generic listing standards. Before, every crypto ETF needed its own 16B-4 approval, slow and political. Now these assets meet requirements, liquidity, compliance, and market cap. They can be approved very quickly. Hashtag and NASDAQ speak. This is a major milestone in meeting the needs for US investors looking to participate in the evolution of crypto, said Marcelo Sampio, the hashtag's CEO. So we'll have to see how all this plays out. Dark Defender says XRP hits the E-wave support level. As we discussed yesterday, it is clear, simple chart. Better to keep an eye on the 50% Fibonacci support. Chin up XRP army. We are getting there. I'm not too worried about it. I am not too worried about it. And look at XRP compared to Bitcoin, gold, and other assets. Man, Bitcoin returned 77, gold 40, US dollar index -2%, XRP 372%. I like it. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Thank you for being here.